Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I know, right?
Oh, that's my mom there. Okay. This is for you guys.
Oh,
thank you. I'm sorry. How you doing?
So cute.
Yeah, absolutely. And so my business card is in there. If you guys ever need anything, man, I mean, this is like, I'm a giver at heart, man. And I see this story, man. It actually broke me down, man. You know, so the holidays around this time, man. So my aunt died about 4 years ago on New Year's Eve. She was planning a New Year's breakfast for our family as like a traditional thing, and as she's cleaning up, you know, preparing for this, she drops dead in her house. And so this time is very sensitive time for me. Yeah, she was only 38 years old. You know what I'm saying? And so I woke up with that emotion on me, and then I read that newsletter, and man, it actually broke me down, man. Yeah. And so I can't even imagine what you guys are going through right now. But I do know I'm a strong believer in God, and I know you guys are highly favored. And so my information is in there with my work number, my cell phone number, and I've been in Evanston my whole life. You know what I'm saying? So resources, anything you guys need, please feel free to reach out. Okay? Okay. All right, brother, man. Nice to meet you, man. Right.
Why do you think your gesture, I mean, it was an incredibly generous gesture, but why do you think it just captured people's hearts?
I think the biggest thing, in my opinion, is that people just don't expect that out of people anymore. And I think when I initially decided to do that, I had no intentions on getting any recognition for it. It was truly from the bottom of my heart. But I think that when people show more of their true self, and there are like actually good people out here in the world, I think it inspires other people to do similar things. And it doesn't have to be at that same level, or it doesn't even have to be financially. But I think during this time it's super important, and people are looking for inspiring things. And I think we have to lean on one another. So I think that's been the biggest thing that I've taken from all the reaction from everyone on Facebook. I actually don't have Facebook, but my family's been keeping me updated.
Good. I was hoping that you were seeing the ripple effect, because I think you're right. I think that when you live your life with the intention of caring for others and generosity, inspires other people to do similar acts. Tell me a little bit about when you read the story. I know you first heard about it from a police officer who, he told me he didn't want to have his name out there, so I'm not going to use his name, but I know you heard about it first from him because he was on the scene, and then you read it in the Dear Evanston newsletter. What was it particularly about this story that hit you?
Well, I think the biggest thing that hit me about the story is I see myself in that story. Very similar situation. You know, I'm have two young children as well. You know, and what I've seen in that story is it could have so easily been me in that same situation. And what really hurt me about it was that, you know, this year has been such a tough year already. And 2 days before one of the most joyful holidays of the year, something so tragic can happen, you know. And so it really touched me really deeply, and it actually brought me to tears, because I see myself, and I've always been a person that has a lot of compassion for other people. And I just could not ignore the fact that this family had lost literally everything 2 days before the holidays, with young kids that I'm sure they had Christmas presents and all type of valuable things. And so my biggest thing when I read it was that it just, it made me very emotional. One reason being is because my aunt, who passed 4 years ago on New Year's Eve, she was only 38 years old at that time. And so for me and my family, New Year's Eve is always an emotional time for us. And so I woke up with emotions that day already. And it's just common for me to check my email as soon as I wake up. And I was like, oh, there's an email I haven't heard from Nina in a while. Let's see what this is about. So I read it, and it just took me into a deeper state of emotion. And then after that, I just prayed about it, and then I got all my guidance there from God from there.
That's a really sad story. And it sounds like your emotions about the day and about the season is very wrapped up in that, and understanding tragedy and having the empathy for somebody else's tragedy because of your own.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I know that you said in the letter to the Jackson family was that, you know, you'd lived in the Fifth Ward. I think you were born and raised here.
I haven't lived in Evanston for maybe over 10 years, but I'm deeply rooted in that community, of course, by working there. And I love that community. I grew up there. Fleetwood-Jourdain, the way I see the kids run around, that was me one day. So I love that place, and I always will.
One of the things you said in the letter to the Jacksons was, you know, not only could you know, that you prayed about it and you were given guidance, but that you yourself had, you know, experienced being down. Was that about your aunt, or was that about other experiences in your life that you've overcome or had other people help you with?
I think it's a combination of a lot of different things. I mean, I grew up as not, you know, the most stable kid as far as, you know, we didn't grow up super wealthy or anything like that. My dad died when I was in 8th grade. Wow. So I think it's just a lot of different things. I've experienced pain all my life, you know, and God has blessed me recently to like overcome a lot of things. And I'm kind of living in my abundance right now. And that's why I was like, you know, this family has sacrificed so much with this tragic event. And I asked myself, what can you sacrifice to make a difference in their life? And just my check was just the first thing that came to mind.
When you got my newsletter, it made you cry. And then when I got your email, it made me cry. One of the last time I saw you was in the summer in the parking lot at Church and Dodge at the Black Male Alliance event where you spoke. What is your role in that, and why did you speak there? And, you know, how do you see the state of the Black community in Evanston right now? And how can, just as you have done good for a family, and you know, the mom, Myra, is Puerto Rican and the dad is African American, how can the community, say particularly the white community, support and uplift the Black community right now in Evanston?
But the Black Male Alliance was something that was brought to me by Nathan Norman, who was a good friend of mine for many, many years. And Nathan and I have a lot of deep conversations that's rooted in, you know, racial equity. And, you know, we have grown to have more candid conversations about stuff that really matters, you know. And so Nathan came to me with this ideal, and he said, you know, this is what he wants to do. And I love to be a part of something like that, you know. And so he kind of formed this group of guys where he just sent random emails out to a bunch of guys that, you know, have strong ties to the community. And some people responded, some people didn't. And as we started to plan for how we would move along with this event or events, because we are like just getting started on this alliance group, and we were discussing our first event, which was the rally. And I was kind of nominated to speak there. I'm not a public speaker at all. It was like, you know, they was like, man, they need to hear from you. You know, you got strong ties to the community. You're right there in the Fifth Ward every day. You know, you do so much great work. And I'm like, you know, I'm fine with that, you know? And so that's kind of how that came about. And after that, what I seen from that event is, and it inspired me, is how many white people actually showed up to that event and supported our movement. And I was so inspired by that. And I think the little things like that is what really matters. I mean, it's like when we all can come together and agree to disagree, but still work towards a common goal, I think it's beautiful, man. And I think it doesn't matter what color you are. I think that white people can just continue to support the causes that we're trying to do. I mean, this is a long journey that we're traveling here, and we can't do it alone. What really touched me about the Jackson family was that Black dad. Because like I said, I seen myself in him. I have not met this guy ever in my life. First time seeing him was when I went to visit them. And I mean, I felt like I'd known them forever. You know, it was just so warm and welcoming, and they were just so appreciative. And, you know, it actually led to an actual friendship. Like me and Mary text, you know, and, you know, she told me that we're family now, that I've adopted the Jacksons and we're family now. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I as long as I'm alive, I'm always going to be involved in that family's life. And it makes me happy to know that they welcome me in like that.
How can people be more inspired to support one another now and in the future, not only when there's a tragedy? You know, this captured everybody's imagination because it was a fire, because it was on, you know, right before Christmas, and because you gave your whole paycheck and you really showed up. What are ways that people can show up every day?
So my motto has always been to build and push others, regardless of the situation. So that's just kind of like, I think it's a mindset shift. And once you shift your mindset to know that what you do is not only about you and your family, I think that we as a whole will come out much better, because I think I am a giver at heart. I've been giving my whole life. A lot of people that you see on a Facebook post, those people know me all my life, and they've known I've always been a giver. I will give you my last. I like to see other people happy. If you're happy, then I'm happy. And if that causes me to have to sacrifice a little bit, I'm okay with that. So I think if people start to shift their mindset and start to see that we can get much farther together than alone, I think the sky's the limit for us as a humanity.
And tell me a little bit about what you do every day at Fleetwood-Jourdain, and how long you've been there for, and how you live out those kinds of things through that job.
Okay, so Fleetwood, so I've been at Fleetwood for 7 years, and it surprises a lot of people. It's my first job ever in my life.
Wow.
And so I came there as just a seasonal employee to run summer basketball leagues. And it was an opportunity that was presented to me by one of my best friends who's worked there since he was like 12 years old. And he came, we was at his house one day, and he was like, "Hey, would you like to help me, you know, put together this basketball league?" And I'm like, "Sure, let's do it," you know? And so he takes me to the facility and, you know, takes me to Miss Jenkins, who was the manager at that time. And it was like, you know, me and her talk, and then she provided me with an opportunity. So we did the summer league, which was outstanding. Like, everybody in Evanston knows, every seat in that gym was filled. It was an adult league, and the league was built to reduce the violence that was going on in Evanston at that time. So it was kind of like an at-risk league. It was a free league, and all we wanted to do was get people off the street and to be in a safe environment, and trying to minimize the stuff that can happen outside during this time. So we ran these leagues literally almost every day, and it was a great experience. It kind of led into the summer was over, and I'm like, oh, I kind of like a job. You know, I never had a job before. I'm like, I kind of like that, and I like working with the community that I'm from, and so I kind of just started to, I probably had like 2 weeks left in my seasonal job. So I kind of just started picking up brooms and mops and sweeping and you know, and so I'm like, maybe if I, you know, do this, maybe someone will notice me and I can stay. And that's exactly what happened, you know? So she was like, you know, how about you do a fall league? I'm like, okay, I did a fall league. And then I did about 3 or 4 leagues after that. And then once I did that, it came up to about the year where Orlando Massey, who was the weekend and evening coordinator at the time there, he always been someone that I looked up to as far as, you know, growing up in that community. And so I started to sneak in his office a lot and see what he did on a day-to-day, you know, and ask him questions, and kind of, I was curious to know, like, how did you get here? And so I give all glory to God for this. Once Orlando left, I was given his position, and then from there, I worked that position for a while. And then I was promoted to a higher position about a year and a half ago, which is the current position that I hold right now, which what I do on a day-to-day basis is we build programming for seniors, adults, kids. Currently, right now, we're doing an e-learning program where we have kids that come there every day and we work with them during their e-learning. And then we have some kind of leisure recreational activities baked into that. After the school day is over, we serve them breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So we are starting up back again tomorrow. So I have a childhood nickname that everybody, you may see it on Facebook. People call me Rock.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I've been called that since about 4th grade. And it's had kind of developed into, it was actually a name that started with my mom and some friends at school. And now it's kind of symbolizing something different, and people are making me realize that, like, my manager right now, Ken Cherry, he refers to it a lot. Like, I am the actual rock around that place. You know what I'm saying? So he's the manager and I'm the rock. So he supports whatever my ideas is, he supported, and he just gives me the open to go and make it happen.
So where did rock come from in the first place? Is it just because Jeron rock?
I think it's because I had a big head.
A big head.
Or my head was hard like a rock.
Seriously, that's so funny. Yeah. Well, it obviously was a very future-looking nickname because it fits you.
Yeah, it fits me.
What made you leave Evanston?
So when I left Evanston, it actually was 10 years ago when I was, my mom had actually moved from Evanston first. And so, I was still in Evanston with friends and, kind of still trying to be around Evanston. And I'm like, I got to get back with my, with my support system. And so, we originally moved out to Waukegan and we stayed there for a while.
What do you think about the Reparations Initiative that's, started in Evanston last year when the resolution was passed? How do you feel that's going to benefit the Black community?
Yeah, so I love the Reparations Initiative, and I think Alderman Simmons did a great job getting that resolution passed. And I think that based on the conversations that I've heard and the things that I've read, I think that it's going to do a very great job at allowing Blacks opportunities that they never thought that they could have before. And I think a lot of times with Black people, particularly in Evanston, is they so accustomed to what they've been used to, and so they don't know anything different, or if they think it's too hard to obtain. So I think that with a little support and a little guidance from this reparations fund, I think that a lot more people can become homeowners. And, it's a wonderful thing. I mean, when I first became a homeowner in 2015, it was like the best thing in the world to me, and it's like, coming from renting other people's houses, all forever, it was like to finally have something of yours. It gives you this sense of comfort, and, it makes you feel more a part of the community. I agree as well. It's that I'm an owner here. I'm embedded in this community. And if we can get more Black homeowners in Evanston, it will kind of start to inspire others, even without the reparations fund, that this is obtainable. So I love the reparations fund.
And I remember that you are either at Northwestern or graduated from Northwestern. Tell me about that and what you are studying or what you study.
Yeah, so I'm currently a grad student at Northwestern. I'm actually in my capstone class that starts next week. So I have about 3 months left before graduation. And I'm studying sports administration. My goal has always been to work with sports and work with kids who struggle to balance academics with sports. So when I grew up in Evanston, I was a pretty good football player at Evanston Township High School. And I struggled a little bit with the balance of academics and sports, you know, because at that point, you know, I kind of loved the sports and kind of thought the academics was second. And when I left high school, I went off to college for about a year and a half, and it was a difference for me because I went too far from my support system. So I went to Grambling State University in Louisiana. It was about 900 miles away from here. And it was just like something where it was like me and my mom decided was like, you know, we tried to make this work, you know, I just want to come back home at this point, you know? And so I came back home and I kind of had a transition in my life where I tried to figure out where I was going in life, you know? And so that took some time for me to figure out. And then I was presented with the opportunity at Fleetwood-Jourdain. And then in 2015, my daughter was born, and that kind of changed everything. You know, it's like, you have someone looking up to you now. So I think about maybe 2 weeks after she was born, I was back in school. And wow. I finished the rest of the 3.5 years of my undergrad.
Where?
I finished my undergrad at Ashford University. It's an online university that's based in San Diego, California. Yeah, so I did, with my busy schedule, I didn't have time really to go into a classroom and do all of that. So I'm okay, let's do it, you know? And from there, I completed that straight. I graduated magna cum laude. I graduated in 2 different honor societies. And then from there, I was like, man, I turned into this academic, like I needed it. It was almost like I was fiending for more. And so I'm like, man, I have to go right to grad school. And that's what I did. I applied to Northwestern. I got accepted to Northwestern. It's been about a year, a little bit over a year, and about 3 months from done. The Fleetwood job didn't come until maybe 4 years after I was back in Evanston, you know, and that 4 years was me kind of trying to transition and find out where I would go in life, you know. And so I explored a lot of different things. Some things I should not have explored, some things I should, but it was kind of like a kid trying to find his way with, you know, a mom that has very high expectations for you and with a very loving family. So it really was no excuse, you know. It was just me maturing more. And I think that once I got to Fleetwood, it kind of like, okay, now you're starting to regain some of it. And then my daughter just was like, it was just like a change in my life that just, man, it completely transformed my life when my daughter was born. And now I just recently had a son he's 8 months. Yeah. And he just took me to a whole nother level as far as faith and commitment and dedication. He's just took me to a whole nother level with that.
Amazing.